Happy Sunday. What's up, guys? It's Tom over at TFC MMA. We are here Sunday morning. And last night, obviously, had the last UFC card of 2022. What an awesome year it was. We're going to do several videos kind of breaking down the year with my favorite fights, favorite fighters, biggest stars, all that kind of good stuff. But this morning, we're primarily focusing on last night's card. Obviously, had a bunch of great fights, guys. I was very impressed. A great way to end 2022. Main event, obviously a razor thin fight. Could have gone either way. Personally, I had it for Sean Strickland, but we'll get into the full breakdown once we get to that fight. But overall, just awesome night. Couldn't ask for a much better way to end off the year. A lot of very impressive performances. So let's go right into it. We had Morozov versus Newsom to start it off. I'm going to be completely honest. I was working through the first two fights. I'm in sales. I had some customers, so I caught what I could. I caught the end of the fight with the decision. Obviously, Morozov, it was 30-27, and I believe one judge had 29-28. But from rewatching the highlights, pretty dominant performance on Morozov's part. Heard he got hit a couple times, but overall, very great performance for him. And that started off our picks 1-0 for the night, with him getting a W, and overall, pretty good performance from him there. As we went in next, we had a flyweight bout, a fly that I thought was way too low on the card. We had Manel Kopp versus Dvorak, and Manel Kopp went out, got the win. Like I said, I was at work, so I didn't get to watch the full fight. Looked like Manel Kopp got knocked down, though. Had a 30-27 and 29-28 unanimous decision, so pretty clear win on his part. Obviously, Kopp had a tough first couple fights in the UFC, but he's doing pretty well as of late, and I think he's definitely an entertaining guy. We saw that in Ryzen, so it'll be pretty good to see kind of what happens with him. I'd love to see him versus maybe a Muhammad Mokaev. That would give Mokaev a jump start into the top 10, but would also be Manel Kopp gives a very entertaining fight. He was 12 and just got a good win, so he'll probably come close to the top 10. So it'll be interesting. We'll see, but I look forward to that. Next performance. Oh my goodness, could I have been more wrong? I knew Renat was a very good grappler, but we had seen Brian Battle deal with good 85 grapplers like Andre Petrovsky and such on tough. So I was thinking he may be able to have some success in this fight, possibly with his jiu-jitsu or the stand-up, but utter domination from Renat here. I mean, one judge had 30-25. I wouldn't have been surprised at all if there was a 30-24 scorecard in this fight. Every round could have been a 10-8 in favor of Renat. I couldn't believe the betting lines were so close. It was wild. This is a fight I really should have bet on a little bit more. I did sprinkle some money on Renat just because after my pick, I was like, I'm picking Battle, but I think Renat could go out there and grapple him. Exactly what he did, guys. He dominant performance, very good performance. We know Battle took the fight on short notice, but give him a year camp. I don't think much changes on that part. It was a very impressive performance for Renat, and if there wasn't all these awesome finishes on the card, I wouldn't say you get the performance tonight because it went to a decision, but very, very dominant. As we go into the next fight, blood, and more blood. Rafa Garcia versus Mahashet, sorry. Probably not the right pronunciation. I looked these up beforehand, but then kind of skips my brain while I'm doing these videos. But oh my goodness. Garcia had one of the worst cuts on the side of his head. After the fight, they said it took 2 hours to close it up, and I believe it 100%. He was bleeding everywhere. Mahashe was covered in Garcia's blood, and then Garcia luckily got him back with a cut from an elbow. But to go through a cut like that, where you're bleeding out like that, and to put on as dominant of a performance as Garcia did, he won the rest of the fight. Right after the cut, he won every minute after that. Very good performance on his part. Very dominant performance after that. And you could see, even after the bell rung, these guys were ready to go 2 more rounds. They were still jawing at each other, getting in each other's face. Luckily, sportsmanship won. They dapped up before they left the cage. But oh my goodness, great fight. Remind me of the Ferguson Pettis fight where there was just blood everywhere, and very, very good performance. Right after that, we had the Battle of the Saids, and this was a great fight. Said Nurmagomedov versus Said Kakramanov, and Kakramanov looked very, very dominant for the majority of the fight. I mean, there was a time in the first where Nurmagomedov had a very tight guillotine, but Kakramanov was able to get out of it, and after that, I mean, pretty clear on his part. He was winning the pretty much rest of the fight until he wasn't. Said Nurmagomedov pulled off an awesome choke midway through the second round, and that's all she wrote. I mean, I thought got a lot of hate for picking Nurmagomedov. A lot of my friends that know MMA very well, like myself, were like, "Man, Kakramanov's going to get done." I said, "Man, Saeed's looked very impressive. Obviously, such a good arsenal with his spin kicks and stuff, and then had that great guillotine the beginning of the year against Cody Stamann. So I was confident he would get the win, but I'll say after 2.5 rounds, I was not very confident that he would get the win. But he gets it done. Great guillotine choke, pulls the wind out of the fire, and just a overall very, very impressive performance. Next, we had Jake Matthews versus Matthew Sellenberger. Semi the Jedi, they call him. And I guess you could call Jake the Parlay Wrecker Matthews. I'm just playing. We all love Jake Matthews. Always puts on a good show. But he was a minus 305 favorite going into this. Semmelsberger was coming in plus 250, plus 235 range, and Semmelsberger put on a flawless performance. I wouldn't say flawless. He got caught a couple times, but he hurt Jake Matthews bad. He knocked him down once around every round. I don't even know how Jake Matthews ate that first right hand and kept going. It was wild to me. Semmelsberger landed very clean, and that's a shot that puts a lot of people out. So very impressive there for Semmelsberger. People forget he was a favorite fighting Alex Morono his last fight out. He lost, but he was a very highly touted prospect, carries a bunch of power. And what this fight was after the first round was, can Semmelsberger land the right hand before Matthews lands the check left hook? And Semmelsberger kept landing that right hand. Matthews landed the check left hook, but not hard enough to do the damage that Semmelsberger was doing with the with that right hand. So a great performance by Semmelsberger. Very entertaining fight, lots of knockdowns, and very good there. In the next fight out, we had Cheyenne Vlismas, formerly Cheyenne Bays, versus Corey McKenna. I was going Bays in this fight. Obviously, she had one of the best knockouts you'll ever see in the female division. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. These last couple of years since COVID have just kind of flown by. And then Corey McKenna, babyface. She doesn't look a day over, I don't know, 18. But she went out, put on a very dominant performance. Obviously, we know she trains a Team Alpha Male out there with Uriah Faber, all those guys. And her grappling looked phenomenal, like most people out of Alpha Male do. So she did great, put on a unanimous decision. Very grappling heavy, that's about all you could say. Vlismas had a very good attempt with a choke. I can't remember if it was in the second or third round, but she tried to put on a good performance, but very dominant by McKenna. Utilized the grappling very well. Going into the third round, Vlismas said, "Do you want to try striking?" And once your opponent says something like that, you know you're dominating them in one facet of the game, and that's what was happening with the grappling of McKenna. Very dominant performance on her part. Very good performance. So very impressive there. After that, we had Michael Olachechek versus Cody Brundage. And Olachechek does what he does and knock people out. As many of you guys that actively follow the channel know, I interviewed Sam Alvey a couple weeks ago. And, of course, Olachechek was his first fight, or no, for last fight, sorry. And Sam Alvey got brutally knocked out, and his jaw was broken. And Sam was telling me the other day when I interviewed him, he said, "Yeah, the jaw's finally healed." If that's a testament to how hard Olachechek hits, I mean, that was 4 months ago when he beat Sam Alvey, and that jaw just now healed. So very impressive performance by Olachechek. Got on top and knocked Brundage out in mount, and it was very, very impressive there. And what I tell you guys going into the week, I said Bobby Green versus Drew Dober. We all know it's going to be a showstopper. We all know it's going to be an awesome performance, and it was. I mean, Bobby Green looked phenomenal in round one. He has that hands-down style, very tricky, very tough to judge because when you're a fighter, you're used to the punches come from up here, so you're able to know how to do them. When they're coming from down here, it's different. It's certainly different, and it's tough to adjust. And Bobby Green was piecing Drew Dober up in every sense of the case. It was very impressive. He looked great. Once again, looked great until he didn't. It was like the Saeed fight. So Kakramanov was winning the fight in pretty much every facet until he wasn't. And Drew Dober was getting pieced up bad until he caught Bobby Green with that left hand and put his lights out. Flatlined him. And I love Bobby Green. He talks a bunch of shit while in the octagon, but was a very good sport with Drew Dober after, hugging him, giving him his props. Drew Dober said something that I have never seen a more perfect self-description of a fighter. Drew Dober said, every fight, I bring in a chin and I bring in a left hand. And he does. And that's why he always puts on great performances. Obviously, that round one of him and Terrence McKinney is probably without a doubt the round of the year. Both those guys are awesome. And Drew Dober, once again, took some big shots in this fight like he did against McKinney, like he did against Alves. And got the knockout, got it done. Very impressive year for Drew Dober. Got the knocked out McKinney clean, got the body shot knockout at UFC, I believe 277 it was, back on the Pena Nunez card. And then this time gets another dominant knockout over a guy like Bobby Green. Very, very impressive performance, and probably he got the bonus, I believe, as he should have. Very, very good fight. As we go into the next one, another bonus winner, I believe. Another guy, I've never been too high on Bruce Leroy. He's a very good fighter, but kind of an oddball guy. And we saw he's been on a great win streak, though. Sadiq Youssef did break the win streak, but Caceres came out and got a very, very good knockout performance here against Julian Erosa. We've seen Erosa beat Chinny in the past. Julio Arce's knocked him out. A bunch of other people have. He obviously had that tough split decision against Paddy Pimblett and Cage Warriors. The guy's been around the block. I think this is his third UFC stint, but he had a phenomenal performance his last time out against Dawodu, but brutal knockout this time. Brutal. Caceres caught him with a head kick, put his lights out, and finished it up with some ground and pound. And a great performance by Caceres. Had his kung fu kind of way after with the bows and the We Are One, all that kind of good stuff. So a very, very good win for Alex Caceres. Then next, we had Amir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. Obviously, Costa's UFC debut. He had come off the Contender Series. But Amir Albazi doing what he does. He was a minus 500 favorite for a reason. We knew he was probably going to win this fight. And he put on a great performance. He's obviously a great grappler, but he used his hands, knocked Costa down twice, and in the third round was able to finish it up with the TKO. So a very impressive performance there by Amir Albazi. Made a few call-outs after, but he's in the top 10 for a reason. I feel bad. He's had all these top 10 fights kind of fall through. The Alex Perez fight, the Brandon Royval fight, but he beats who's put in front of him. He obviously beat the Figueiredo 2 last time out, and then gets this win over Costa. I'd love to see him versus Brandon Royval again, possibly. I don't know about Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell coming off that loss. I'd love to see Muhammad Mokaev. I'm very high on Muhammad Mokaev, as you guys can tell. I said I'd like to see the cop fight. I'd love to see this fight. Whatever gets that guy into the top 10. I think he definitely has potential to be champion. I know his last fight in Abu Dhabi, some people kind of turned on him because he was almost allergic to ground and pound, it looked like. But he got the job done with that armbar last time out, and I'm very excited to see what comes for him. One of the best prospects in all of MMA, so it should be good. As we talk about prospects in MMA, you can't even call these guys prospects anymore because they're in the top 15, but these were two boogeymen, two guys that nobody above them wanted to fight. We had Demiris Magulov versus Arman Tsarukyan. I told you guys in the pre-fight video, I thought that Demiris Magulov was probably going to be able to keep it standing and maybe win decision, maybe grind out a split decision. I couldn't have been more wrong. Arman Tsarukyan knew his last fight was close, and he said, I can't let this fight be close. He went out and put on a dominant performance. He held his own on the feet against Demir. Used that left leg kick, high body, and used it phenomenally. And then, obviously, a grappling masterclass on the part of Arman Tsarukyan. He had a very close fight out his last time against Mateusz Gamrot. A lot of people thought he won that fight. It was close. I was happy with it going to either guy, whether Gamrot or Tsarukyan. But he called for someone in the top 5 next, and he deserves it. It's tough not to. He's put up one of the best performances against Islam Makhachev out there, and it'll be interesting to see what's next. A lot of the guys in the top 5 are booked, and I don't think they're going to make Beneil Dariush fight another young up-and-comer after he just beat Mateusz Gamrot, especially when he's so close to the title. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Tsarukyan. Obviously, I've been calling for Fiziev Gaethje, but if that fight doesn't happen, I'd love to see Fiziev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Don't do 5 rounds. I prefer probably 3 rounds. I think will be a better fight there. But Fiziev's shown great takedown defense. RDA had a tough time holding him down. And Fiziev is obviously phenomenal on the feet. great Muay Thai, trains over at Tiger in Thailand, and that'll be a fight I think would be great. Two younger up and comers. I know it's tough to keep giving arm on these young up and comers, but I don't know who in the top five is really available for him to fight. I don't think they're going to make Charles Oliveira step down that far in competition, but who knows? We'll see. And who knows if it will be a step down? It may be level. He could beat Charles Oliveira. Who knows? But a great fight on Arman Tsarukyan's part and a very dominant performance. As we go into the main event, we all kind of said going into this, will Jared be able to land the big strike and put him out? And can Sean use the volume to enough to win a decision? And kind of both are true. I was very impressed with Sean Strickland's chin, obviously coming off a very bad knockout against Alex Pereira his last time out. It was going to be interesting to see how timid he was, and he definitely looked timid. Sean Strickland's one of those guys where, unless he's fighting a guy, every time he fights a guy with power in his hands, he almost has that look on his face like, I may get knocked out. But he kept marching forward. He didn't, not as much as usual. Cannonier kept a good pressure on him, but Sean Strickland landed the jab very efficiently. But Cannonier was phenomenal with the leg kicks for the first 3 rounds. Obviously, I believe it was midway through round 3. Sean had a good second check, and Cannonier kind of stopped throwing the leg kicks after that. But Cannonier was very effective to the body as well. But the head numbers were clearly in favor of Strickland. This fight could have gone either way, guys. Personally, I scored it for Strickland, 48-47. But this was a fight I wasn't surprised that two judges had 49-46 either way, because all of these rounds were so close. They were coin flips. I think the clearest round was probably round 1 for Strickland. The striking was nearly identical. I think Strickland getting him down, getting the clinch time, landing those shots from the clinch won him the round. But overall, a good fight to end the year. It wasn't a show-stopping knockout or a bunch of blood like a lot of people are hoping for in a main event, but I was very impressed. Jared Cannonier called for possibly people higher than him or the title fight. I don't know. It's kind of tough. Can't give him another title fight, especially after you saw what happened last time against Adesanya. He didn't really do too much. And Alex Pereira is going to fight Israel Adesanya again. So that's not going to happen. The only other guy above Cannonier is Robert Whittaker, who already beat Cannonier pretty handedly. So it's a tough spot for Jared Cannonier. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next, what they do with him. The big thing is we're all expecting Robert Whittaker to beat Paulo Costa. If Paulo Costa was somehow able to knock out Robert Whittaker or win a decision, that would just mess with the whole division, but would also give us some good fights. Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa would be a phenomenal fight. So a lot of different ways to look at this. The middleweight division is obviously in a very different spot than it was 6 months ago when we had Israel Adesanya kind of making his laps. But Poatan came in, messed it all up, put Israel Adesanya out for the 3rd time. Hopefully they get that 4th fight booked. We got several great fights to look forward to in 2023, guys. Like I said, I'm going to do several videos in this next kind of month to kind of fill the gap of not being able to watch fights. I'll go back, I'll rewatch a lot of the great fights from the year. I'll rank them, I'll rank my biggest breakout stars, all that kind of good stuff. I'm working on some more fighter interviews. We got a big one lined up, hopefully for this afternoon. So I look forward to sharing that one with you guys. And we got a lot to look forward to. It's kind of hit me now that the year's ended. We had our last fight last night. I only started doing this a month ago, and it's really brought a lot of joy to me. I really love breaking down these fights with you guys. I love the opportunities I've had to talk with some of these fighters, whether it be Twitter or hopefully getting them in for interviews on the channel. So it's going to be a great 2023. I thank you all for kind of tuning in on these videos. My Patriots are playing the Raiders later today. Go Pats, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Go France in the World Cup, too.